Ready whenever you are. Okay, welcome to number 7 of the Writer's Fantasy Erotica Something Big Long Name Keep podcast.
Yes. Seductive.
Erotic.
I'm Michelle Keep.
I'm Joshua Keep.
We are authors.
I don't think... Do we really need to introduce ourselves? Like
I don't know. Do you guys know who we are?
Yeah, we're authors.
We write things with words.
Dirty words.
Sometimes. So, welcome back to another podcast. We're actually trying to keep to our schedule of doing one of these a month. Yeah. So far, this is 2 out of 2.
Yeah! Go us! Yeah! So, 2 out of 2. It's been a long road, baby.
Yeah. So far, so good. Hopefully we could keep on keeping on.
Yeah. It also helps that we just take the whole thing less seriously now.
Yeah. We don't spend like 20 hours trying to poorly edit the podcast anymore. So hopefully we still sound fine.
I don't think you poorly edited it. I think it was pretty good. Although there were a few cases where the audio fucked up and it was like...
That was because I was using a trial version of our program, which we use to record, which is Goldwave, which is another Newfoundland company.
That being the place from which we are.
Yes. So it's like we are supporting local commerce since we stopped using the trial edition and bought the full edition so that it doesn't... confine us to like 30 minutes per or something, so then I had to edit it all in. And we also bought a better mic, which means that our awesome Logitech headsets that we bought for playing video games, which apparently times out if there's no noise coming through the speakers after like a certain amount of time.
What the hell was with that?
I don't know, but like it was the #1 complaint. It was like the G930
which is a great headset altogether.
They're amazing.
Except for that one issue.
If you're using it for like MMO gaming or something, it's pretty awesome. But then like, I just kept thinking, what if I'm in like a raid in World of Warcraft and it's like, I don't have to talk to these assholes and they don't have to talk to me for like half an hour, and then all of a sudden I don't realize that they're trying to talk to me because my headset just decided to cut out because like there was no sound. And I know it's a wireless headset, but you know, I don't think the batteries dying is such a big deal as like, you know, it cutting out during the middle of a raid because we weren't being chatty Cathys.
No, the battery is like crazy good. I think it lasts 24 hours or something on a charge.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I mean, you used to be our raid leader, and I mean, you used to dominate the conversation because you're the boss. You're the boss ass bitch telling everyone what to do.
I am.
There wasn't a lot of need for most members to be speaking.
People just knew to behave, to do well. Yeah. They knew to do things like heal, heal, so I didn't have to yell at them.
As much.
Usually.
Yeah. Sometimes they did. Oh, she likes yelling at people.
I don't.
Listen to her.
I don't.
Oh, that was a gleeful laugh, remembering time she yelled at people. She's got a touch of a dominatrix in her.
Kindly reminded them, with my words, that they should be fucking healing, or fucking tanking, or fucking DPSing.
Yeah. Just fucking do your job.
One time when I was in a raid, it was like my first 25-man raid, I guess, and I had just hit 70 that day. And this was back in Burning Crusade. And so, like, we had done Karazhan and stuff a few times, and, you know, that was fine. But this was a brand new character. I had just leveled to 70. The way I leveled to 70 was I followed around Josh's level 70 shaman as he killed everything.
Yeah.
And I sucked up all the XP, and then I dinged to level 70. And I had green daggers, and I had just finished the quest line to get the Karazhan key. That was the first and only thing I had done. And I had like no purples. I don't even think I had a blue. And we went and we raided with this other, it was like a hybrid guild, but they did a lot of raiding. And they did some role playing and they did some PvP, but they were kind of,
you know. Details, come on.
Shut up.
Keep moving.
So anyways, me on my little rogue, who was aptly named Anjasa, possibly Kesa at that time, I don't know. Anyways, details.
You love bogging stories down to detail.
Details are where the humor comes in. I think everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to my story. So, it's us, which is our role-playing guild. There's like 5 of us representing. And we show up and, you know, we're not in great gear. The best of us have like some Karazhan drops, not very many. So, turns out, we look at the damage chart afterwards, and I think I was number 2, maybe number 3.
Yeah, I think you were number 2. I was number 1.
Yeah, I was definitely top 5 on my greens with my just hit level 70 compared to like all these other people who have been 70 and raiding for like months.
Yeah, our whole group of roleplay nubs were all in the top 5.
We were 4 out of the top 5. They had like one really good player who was awesome. Hi, Tragoth. Anyways.
That's a stretch. That's hopeful.
So then it turns out afterwards I was like inspecting them, and they like had a warlock who had like agility and like spirit gear back in the day when spirit didn't do anything for warlocks. I don't know if it does anything now, but I'm just prefacing that this is a useless stat for warlocks back in the day.
Just say it had a bunch of useless stats. It's probably the best.
There was a lot of useless stats in that group.
Details again, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I was determined to never allow our guild to be made fun of for being a bunch of role-play nerds. And so I formed a pretty awesome team, especially since people don't like to show up to raids when you're not like a serious like 20 hours a week raider.
Yeah. People are very shitty on commitments.
Like, we'd get like 6 or 7 people dedicated every week, and they would sacrifice every Friday and every Saturday night to come out and raid with us. And then we'd be missing like 2 or 3 people. And it was just like the biggest bummer in the world, because we'd have this core group that was so dedicated and so good and so talented, and we couldn't fucking do anything because like 1 or 2 people decided that they didn't want to show and they didn't want to give any notice. That was the most frustrating thing in World of Warcraft ever.
Well, in retrospect, it's just kind of funny looking back that we took a video game so serious. Oh, I kind of miss those days.
Me too.
Now
World of Warcraft was awesome.
Got all these responsibles now.
I know. Like, I have Guild Wars 2, and I want to play it. Like, every day, I'm like, you know what? That'd be fun to play. And, like, I have an active WildStar subscription for the past, like, 2-3 months now. And
something like that,
yeah. Yeah, I have, like, a level 7 and a level 10 or something, and that is all I've had time to do. I work full-time, and I write full-time, and I publish full-time,
and you're occupied in our BDSM dungeon full-time. That is a full-time job. Like, there is no downtime. Yeah, you are whipping my ass 24/7.
I know, and he bitches a lot, and then there's the aftercare. Like, it takes up a lot of my time, clearly.
Oh, yeah. I need a lot of aftercare.
He's so whiny. Like, you don't even know.
I need cuddles.
He needs cuddles for at least an hour a day.
That's not even a joke.
Like, 1/24 of my day goes towards cuddles. And that's not talking about, like, before we go to sleep, we have some cuddles or whatever. Or, like, when we wake up. Yeah, no. Cuddle time is a serious time in our house.
Yeah, all joking aside, cuddles is serious business.
I'd suggest cuddles to everybody who doesn't currently cuddle. Cuddles are good.
Yeah, and if you do cuddle, cuddle more.
Yes. Even friendly cuddles, hugs.
Cuddle more vigorously, mayhaps.
Mm-hmm. I cuddle too vigorously at times.
Yes, you do. The bed is your center of power, and Michelle gets very aggressive in the bed.
And not even sexually.
Not necessarily
just in general. I just become very grabby, very domestic assaultish a little sometimes.
You get very angry for no particular reason.
I get angry for no particular reason a lot, though, to be fair.
Yeah. But you get more physically violent about it in bed.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. She's a very interesting person in my life.
I drag Josh to like BDSM groups, but I don't think he cares for them too much. He feels kind of uncomfortable around people who say that they beat other people for fun.
It's not even so much. Well, it is. Like, you know, the people talking about, you know, like they using some spiked implement on a woman and how making her hurt, and they love that so much, and it was just kind of unsettling in general. But just the way they would talk about it, and so casually over coffee and that, it was just.
We write erotica. We write dark erotica. We write the most fucked up shit ever.
We do.
But I think the thing is we know each other, we trust each other, we know that this isn't real. But when you're just getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't know who they are, you don't know what they're capable of. And then to have them talk so brazenly about things like that, I mean, that doesn't mean anything about them. But I think it's just, we're not used to that culture where it's okay to talk about that as, like, a getting to know you conversation.
I mean, you know me, right? People, you know me. So, you know, that my stance is I try not to be judgy. I try not to judge anybody else. I reserve all judgment for myself. I judge my own actions and try to be a better person. I try not to look at other people and pass judgment on them. But it's very hard in that situation. I don't know, being the person I am, having lived the life I've led, I'm disturbed by the idea of hurting others and liking it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've spoken to him at length about how, you know, it's very much a catharsis, especially for people who have come from, you know, a background where they were maybe assaulted or had to deal with abusive parents or whatever. It's kind of a reclamation, I guess, of that scenario. You have more control over it. You have safe words. It's a way of working out your issues. So it's not like we don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to say that everybody into BDSM, you know, comes from an abusive background or whatever. It's just, you know, I've read some things that say that those who have come from an abusive background are maybe a bit more inclined towards it as a way of dealing with their past. So, I mean, to me, whatever you do to get you past, you know, a horrible upbringing or a horrible experience, I mean, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, that's fucking awesome. Fucking keep at it.
Well, hurting anybody else against their consent, I suppose.
Well, yeah.
Just addendum you tag on there. But, and I mean, yeah, I understand it. I mean, like, you know, our writing of, like, we write some very fucked up shit. Like, we write some of our stories, man, it's absolutely criminal stuff.
Oh, yeah,
great
for
violence,
sure. And
abuse.
And we don't pull punches. Like, I mean, if we write something,
depending on the work, we write a wide range of stuff. We like writing, you know, all across the spectrum.
I'm just saying, like, we don't try to sugarcoat it. We are not fans of typically the hero who is assault oriented and that's not addressed or that's seen as something normal or something that's acceptable.
Yeah, like the lead male character, like, you know, rapes a woman, but it's kind of turned off like, oh, but she likes it afterwards, so it's okay.
But he didn't know that.
Yeah, so we don't like doing that stuff so much. And, like, anyways, my point, that, you know, we write some dark stuff, and I understand, because for me, it is kind of cathartic. And, you know, like, the whole thing with catharsis as well, a lot of people believe that, you know, just doing an act that kind of relieves, you know, the pain of whatever you suffer, like, you know. And, you know, sometimes, like, you know, catharsis doesn't always work. Like, in some cases, like, anger. As a vent for anger, like, you know...
Just breeds more anger.
Yeah, doing violent acts to relieve, you know, your anger doesn't work. Countless studies have shown that, like, you know, if you go wail on a punching bag to relieve your anger, it's actually going to make you angrier.
Yeah, you don't feel calmer. Like, you feel more energized and more aggressive.
And it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
It makes you more likely to lash out later in a situation where someone maybe is antagonizing you. it increases the odds to where you might lash out violently instead of just dealing with it by words.
Which is why, like, yoga and stuff is highly recommended for people with anger or depression or any type of mental illness, as it's very relaxing and it forces you to become more in touch with your body, which I know is hard for a lot of people with a lot of mental illnesses and a lot of anger issues and a lot of abuse issues. Being in touch with your body doesn't seem like it's a good idea.
Yeah, but so, catharsis, doesn't, depending on what it is, it can be a good thing. Other times it's an illusion. You're not really getting that cathartic release. When you beat on the punching bag, it's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to make you less likely to be violent later on. But for certain issues like this, then I can totally understand how it can be cathartic, and it can be because, in a way, it's kind of giving you in your own mind control over a situation in which perhaps in the past you did not have control. And so I think why so many things. There's always so much talk about why rape erotica is so popular with women. Well, I mean, a great deal of women are raped, and I can understand why.
And the others are all afraid of it.
It's a very common theme in our culture and whatnot. So I can understand definitely why reading stories about this, writing stories about this, it can be cathartic because it's not the same. It's not real. In this situation, you have control over it. It's not real.
You can shut the book.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done that a lot because I love reading dark erotica, but I'm not going to lie and I'm not going to say that I was able to get through all of the books that I started reading. Many of them made me so uncomfortable I had to stop because I was just finding that my mood was, negatively affected, especially the more realistic ones, which we've talked about in the past, and why we focus more on fantasy stuff instead of contemporary stuff, because sometimes it just gets too real. So it doesn't allow me to feel like I'm controlling it anymore.
Yeah, and so, I understand. In that way I understand it. But still, hearing people talking about it like that, openly in a real setting, not as just fantasy on words, can bother me. However, though it bothers me in a completely emotional way that I can't control, I try to be a better person and realize, that's just, it's stuff going on between consenting adults. Yeah. I'm not going to judge other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. There's always situations in life where you have this gut emotional reaction towards you think this person or these people are wrong. That's kind of disgusting. It upsets me. And sometimes you have to,
just shut that off.
Bite the bullet and say, rationally you have to work it out and say, as long as it works out rationally, you say, but it's between consenting adults.
Yeah. The thing is I think all of us just need to be a little bit more humble, which is funny for me to say on a podcast where I'm all expecting you to listen to me and Josh talk for an hour.
Yeah.
But
oh, we have to go for an hour now. That's set, is it?
That's just how it always kind of goes, within 10 minutes of an hour.
Yeah, but if you say that, then everyone's going to be expecting an hour. And
don't expect it. Don't expect it.
If we don't make an hour at some point, people are going to be like, oh, you didn't do the full fucking hour. Where's the rest of my hour, bitch?
Okay, people are not going to be that upset.
You don't know.
Anyways.
It's the internet.
Shut up. I'm trying to say things.
Okay, sorry.
But in the end, I recognize that my opinion is not law. And my opinion is not the best thing ever. And it's not,
Except in the BDSM dungeon.
Sacrosanct. Exactly. So, I just think that's the way we have to be. Even when, people say things that are abhorrent to us or upsetting to us, it's just a matter of trying to understand their position, trying to understand the cultural background, trying to understand their personal background, their upbringing, the things that made them believe the way they do. So for right or for wrong, everybody believes the things they do because of reasons,
Yeah.
Because of reasons. Mm-hmm. That's all it takes.
Eloquent.
I know. I am very eloquent. Josh encouraged us to have a delicious chocolatey beverage.
Yeah, a chocolatey beverage.
Which includes some alcohol.
It's pretty much all alcohol, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't want to stand up right now because I may fall down.
It's
I'm feeling elephant.
Yeah, it's an amusing blend of vanilla vodka,
Godiva chocolate alcohol.
Godiva white chocolate. What was it?
And
liqueur.
Creme de coco.
Yes.
Hershey's creme de coco with some almond milk.
Yeah.
Chocolate almond milk. It's fantastic. If anybody drinks and has like $100 to blow on getting like all of the ingredients. Well, I don't know how it is in the States or anywhere that isn't Newfoundland. Newfoundland tends to have incredibly high prices on all these things anyway.
Yeah, we do.
And all of the Americans I know bitch and moan about the price of alcohol here. So it's probably like $2 wherever else.
Yeah, we live on a cold rock of an island in the North Atlantic.
It's actually called The Rock.
Yeah.
We have a radio station that's called The Rock of the Rock.
Yeah. It is just an in-hospital rock. The Vikings tried to settle here.
And they're like, fuck it.
They couldn't take it. They left.
Can't deal.
Yeah.
In Lansdale Meadows.
Lansdale Meadows.
Lansdale Meadows.
Yeah. You really fucked that up.
Yeah.
Lansdale Meadows. Christ. Go back to French class.
France actually lost. Nobody cares about France losing Newfoundland as a colony. Nobody. I barely care.
You were going to bring that up, were you?
I was going to talk about the English or the British and French battle over Newfoundland.
There were a bunch of them.
I know there were a bunch of them, Josh. Nobody cares.
Oh, damn. Now you kindled the historian in me. I was a former historian.
Anyways, so what we actually wanted to talk about was things about...
oh, you're trying to read my list? Don't read my list. That is a violation. This is my list.
We want to talk about good ideas handled poorly.
I don't think I want to do that one first, actually, honey. I think I'm going to do something else first.
Way too spicy.
Yeah, I know. You shouldn't read my fucking list. How about that?
We came up with the list together. You just wrote it down.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Also, I'm pretty sure I'm the one that sparked that idea.
Shut up. Anyway.
I told you to go write it down, and you were like, "Oh, I gotta write that down. That's a really good idea,
no,
Michelle."
You didn't tell me to write it down. I was the one that recognized it was a good idea.
That's a fantastic idea, Michelle.
Anyways.
You're so brilliant, Michelle, is what he said to me.
Okay. No. We're going to talk about... Because we always leave it till the last moment on these podcasts, and then we kind of screw it up. We're going to start with the story challenge.
Can I read this off your screen?
You can, but don't read it verbatim. That's lazy.
Oh, swinging. Swinging is the challenge.
Yeah, write a story about swinging for Darkness story section.
Josh is not fond of swinging.
I don't like other people. It's the problem.
He really doesn't like other men. Sorry to any men who are listening right now.
I'm like most people a bit gay, but I have issues finding other men that I'm comfortable with in a sexual situation. What I need is a very pretty, non-threatening male.
I found that guy. He doesn't look too threatening. He looks pretty small and still fit.
Oh, that's good. You gotta be fit.
He's also not from here, so there'd be like totally no strings attached.
Yeah, that's cool too.
When we went to Ontario a few months ago, and like one of our number one goals was we have to go to the swinging club because...
Well, one of the swinging clubs.
One of the swinging clubs, yeah. Oasis, I think. Oasis Aqua Lounge.
Don't ask me, I don't remember.
Shut up, I was just looking at you.
Okay.
So we got a hotel, a really nice hotel that was like, you know, within like a 5-minute walk. This was the purpose of choosing that hotel. Choosing a nice hotel because just in case we wanted to leave the swinging club and come back to our place, we wanted it to be a nice place. We didn't want to be staying at some rat hole.
Well, yeah.
So anyways, the day before we leave, I started getting a tickle in my motherfucking throat.
Yeah.
So I'm on the plane and I'm like chewing gum and I'm sniffling and every 2 minutes Josh is like, "You okay?" I'm like, "I don't feel so good." So by the time I got there, it was a full-blown cold. So the next day, this was actually like around the time Ad Astra was there, which is a fantasy sci-fi fiction convention in Toronto, or just outside of Toronto, which we totally intended on going to because there was an Erotica panel.
Yeah, it was a big point of going there because it would be a big tax write-off.
Yeah. So anyways, we're like, this is perfect. We'll go to the sex club on Friday night, and then we'll go to the Ad Astra on Saturday night, and then maybe we'll even go back to the sex club on Sunday and see what that's all about. Like, this was a really exciting, big deal. Except that I was really, really sick. So during Friday night, there was nothing. There was no way I was getting out of that bed. So, I mean, it was perfect. It was a really nice hotel, so being sick in it isn't too bad. I just lied there under, like, the duvets. I loved it. And, like, just kind of moaned and bitched and drank some ginger ale.
She also dragged me up onto the motherfucking roof of the building, sick as
a
dog.
There was a motherfucking hot tub on the roof of the building.
It is still winter in Canada.
Toronto skyline.
Still winter now in Canada.
I got some very nice pictures up there, and I look halfway decent. I don't know how I managed it. I looked really good in, like, every one of those pictures we took in Toronto, and I felt like hell.
Yeah, you were a pile of shit is what you were. You're like...
So anyways, we go to the ROM the next day because this is the best thing to do.
The Royal Ontario Museum.
Yes, the Royal Ontario Museum. This is a big deal for me. I wanted to go see the dinosaurs, and I wanted to go see all of the cool stuff.
They had a big Forbidden City exhibit.
Yeah. So, like, 7 o'clock in the morning we wake up because I can't sleep when I'm sick, apparently. And we decide to go to the Royal Ontario Museum. We start walking there. It's still cold out. I didn't bring a winter jacket or a scarf or gloves or a hat or anything because I was expecting Cuba weather.
Yeah. Even though before we left, I warned you, we're not flying to Cuba, honey. Yeah. You should probably bring some coats and shit.
Yeah. So anyways, I didn't do that.
No, you completely
So we're walking around at like 9 o'clock in the morning, find out the Royal Ontario Museum doesn't open until 10. It's freezing cold. So we're just wandering around. We go into a Tim Hortons because we're Canadian.
Yeah.
We drink a nice decaf tea because Josh can't have caffeine and neither can I.
Now my nervous system explodes if I have
and I just get migraines, so that's fun. So we're wandering around. We finally get to the Royal Ontario Museum. We go to the Forbidden Palace, or the Forbidden City exhibit. I'm dragging myself through the last, like, half hour. I'm, like, going around. I'm like, Josh, look how beautiful this fabric is. Look at how intricate and detailed it is. Like, I sound like I'm so out of it and stoned on something I don't even know. And then we finally make it to the gift store. I buy a few trinkets for people. I forget about most of the people I wanted to buy trinkets for. We go upstairs. We start looking around the other exhibits. I am dragging my heels. We finally get to Egypt. And I just give my camera to Josh. Say, Josh, go on without me. Take pictures of Egypt. I can't do anymore.
Yeah.
And I just sat down. And we hadn't eaten because we went to the cafeteria in the ROM. And it was the most confusing, hectic place I've ever been. So you had to decide what you wanted to eat before you got into line. They had like a line for salads, and they had a line for soups, and they had a line for sandwiches.
The lines were all huge.
And they were huge. And I didn't know what I wanted. I was kind of thinking I'd just go in and get something off the menu. I don't know. But then we saw this kid walking around to like the buffet. I don't know how it works there. But I saw some kid touching and like mushing up all of the food.
That was
with his hand.
Oh,
so we just turned around and walked out. So this is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The last thing I had was a tea at like 9 in the morning. And I'm just dying. So we finally make it back to the hotel. It's like 4 o'clock. We had to find food, so I'm pretty sure we ordered room service, which was incredibly expensive, but very good.
Oh my god, it was incredible.
And then we had to have the serious talk. Josh, I don't think I'm going to be able to go to the Ad Astra today. I know, honey. I know. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to the Swingers Club tonight either. Yeah, honey. No, I know. I know. Nobody wants to be around you right now. Alright, perfect.
Yeah.
So,
as hot as you are, when you're all snotting over everything.
Snotting and sneezing and gross. So then...
Nobody you want to stick your dick in you is going to want to do it when you look like that.
No, I kind of looked... I was haggard, we'll say. So then Sunday came, and, I mean, Josh started feeling sick because I'd been around him for the past couple of days and decided to drag him all around the place, and, you know, so I gave him my virus, and then I wore down his immune system, so there was really nothing else that he could do. Yeah. So there was no swinging. There was no exciting sex club. There was no anything except for a very nice hotel room that basically saw us sleep the entire time.
Yeah, and have room service.
Yeah.
It was great room service, though.
Yeah. So that was my attempt at swinging, and it was horribly, horribly derailed. I'm not really comfortable swinging with anybody here in Newfoundland because...
There's not a lot of attractive people here.
And it's a very small place. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those, you know, you say 6 degrees of separation, but Jesus, it's like 1 degree here. Like, you can't talk about anything, about anyone, without anyone knowing. Like, we went to a wedding last weekend, and I went into work the next day. They're like, oh yeah, you were at that wedding. I saw somebody else's pictures. Like, I don't know how you know these people, but okay.
To be fair, to be completely fair now, the wedding was...
extravagant.
It was a big wedding, a big political wedding here with some bigwigs from very rich people on the island.
There was a poutine bar at midnight.
Yeah, to really solidify this as a Canadian wedding, at midnight they opened an all-you-can-eat poutine bar.
Which I didn't actually get to stay for, and I'm really disappointed because even though I didn't have my lactose pills, I still would have eaten all of the poutine because I love poutine so much.
And then you would have been very sick.
Oh, I would have been so sick. So sick.
Yeah, it's a shame we missed out on that. Yeah.
It is a shame because I would have sacrificed my health for some fucking poutine.
They also had an open bar, a free open bar.
Okay, this does not happen in Newfoundland.
Yeah. Now, for the rest of you might think, open bar, yeah, whatever.
Oh, but no, everyone has open bars.
This is the first time I've ever heard. This is an island of... Everybody here is a huge alcoholic. It is just like, we have the highest concentration of bars and pubs of, like, anywhere in North America or the world. I can't remember what it is.
I think it's North America, but, yeah. George Street, woo!
Yeah, it's just a street of bars. It's just...
That's all it is. And, like, there's nooks and crannies and dirt bars and, like, you know, I don't even know, techno bars. There's a karaoke cops.
Yeah.
Where fun is the law.
Clever.
There is a museum/pub.
There's a museum/pub. Yes,
actually, there's a couple. There's also a naval... I don't think it's actually a museum, but they have, like, special heirlooms and stuff.
So, yeah, they had an open bar.
For, like, probably, like, what, 150, 200 people?
Something like that, yeah.
Like, we had one person come up to us. The open bar opened at 9 o'clock. This guy came over at 9:01 to tell us that, like, the bar was open, and he was already kind of sloshed.
Yeah,
like,
he was.
By, like, 20 minutes later, he was gone.
Yeah, no.
And that is how Newfoundlanders drink. Michelle, it is, like, 0 to 60.
Yeah, Michelle asked me to go get her a drink at one point. This was, I guess, after 11 or something.
Yeah, it was, like, 11 o'clock.
So I went to the bar, and it was... You know,
packed.
It was hectic. It was packed. There was 4 people just working on shipping in new crates of vodka and liquor and coolers, beer and stuff, like, just because they were having trouble keeping it stocked to keep up with the fucking demand. It was insane.
They didn't even have to restock the candy bar that fast.
Yeah, there was also an all-you-can-eat candy buffet.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of weird stuff.
But, like, here, what people do... Because alcohol is so expensive, especially in bars, what people do is they won't even go to, like, George Street, the bar street, until, like, midnight. Because they will start drinking at, like, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by the time 12 o'clock comes on...
Anyways.
Yeah. Like, St. Patrick's Day, we had people lined up at the bars, ready to start drinking at, like, 7 a.m.
Yeah. You usually see people... first thing in the morning. When I work downtown.
Yeah, there's a few
you'd see people drinking outside bars, people having a smoke and stuff like this, like right away in the morning, like, you know. When I would go for like a coffee run or something, it was absurd.
Time to go to work, passing all the people drinking in the bars.
Yeah, it's nuts, this place, bottom line. So yeah, swinging.
Yeah.
Write a story about swinging. Oh wow, we're so good at this podcasting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's like cheating, except not.
I don't think that's fair. That's what Tay said.
Yeah. No, Tay, I think you're wrong. It's not like cheating.
Yeah, I don't think swinging and cheating have a whole lot in common.
I think the appeal is you get the variety while at the same time you still have your partner's consent and trust. I think it comes from a completely different place. Like,
consent is key.
Yes. I mean, you can be a swinging couple when one of you's like cheating because you're not letting your partner in and they don't know and there's no consent there. Or like, I mean, some people have like the don't ask, don't tell. But for me, swinging is my partner knows, they're consenting, and we're in on this together. Mm-hmm. So it's like a shared experience.
Yeah.
It's something, then afterwards you could go home and be like, hey, did you check out that person that I was having sex with? Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, totally. Did you check out the person I was having sex with? Wasn't that awesome? It's like, yeah. And then we high five.
This is how you imagine it happening in your head, is it?
I think it's a bonding experience. He's not high-fiving me. I don't understand what's happening.
I've got a liquor in my hand.
Oh, yes! Yes, we're not divorced. He still loves me.
Yep. And so, I do still love her, but some bonus prompts for the story challenge.
Oh, I have one for that one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Okay, so the first one is a music festival. And one of the first times that I ever heard of the swinging scene in St. John's, Newfoundland, was actually on a local forum where somebody recommended that when we all go to the folk festival, if anyone was interested in swinging, that they should wear a yellow bracelet so that then we could stand out to each other and have that conversation that might possibly lead to swinging down the line if everybody's cool with it. I never actually went because it was raining, because it's Newfoundland and this was the folk festival and it was raining this folk festival too, and that's just what it does.
It's always fucking raining here.
But, good idea.
So
if any of you want to use that, some little incognito piece of jewelry that can spark some naughty conversation, that could be a story idea.
Or a Nixon face mask.
Okay, don't do that.
No, really? Okay. Next bonus prompt. Impromptu sex toys.
Whoops, I forgot I had this vibrator on me.
Yeah. And final bonus prompt, urban fantasy. Elves and Starbucks is one Tay threw in as an example.
That is very strange. Tay, I do not know where your brain is right now.
Yeah.
Tay is another author who was with us in the Dark Nest anthology last month, you may recall.
We should try to get him on the podcast if he's up for it.
If he is, then we can ridicule him to his face.
Yeah.
You want to be on the podcast, Tay?
It wouldn't really be to his face, though.
It would be. Kind of. So yes, that is the Dark Nest Story Challenge. If you want to write, you can use any of our stories as a solid foundation.
Yeah, any of those ideas. Any of those long-winded, rambling ideas. Feel free to take them. They're up for grabs.
They are all yours. Trust me, I'm not going to use them.
Yeah. So that's good. I completely derailed the usual order of things.
That wasn't us high-fiving, by the way. That was him high-fiving himself.
Yeah, go me.
Next.
Oh, next. She's displeased with me. I'm getting a glare. Okay, so how about we start with what we're working on currently? We're working on finishing up the third part to the Vixen series, following, the character Anjasa.
Who's based off my World of Warcraft character.
Yeah, initially, yeah.
I mean, it's just a character concept. She's pretty awesome. She's an elf. If you haven't read the first two, you probably should because they're pretty awesome. She's a very slutty elf who decides to try to put her sluttiness aside somewhat so that she can also be a businesswoman in running a brothel.
Yeah.
Which I think is very admirable. I'm really liking this third one, actually, because she's kind of turning into a little bit of a socialist.
Oh.
Capitalist socialist.
Yeah, she's kind of a big crime lord, but...
Yeah, she's also a crime lord. But, you know, she loves her workers.
But it's set in a fantasy, like, swords and sorcery kind of setting.
I wouldn't say crime. Swords and sorcery, just because I think it would appeal to people who like urban fantasy. I don't think the fantasy is going to throw it off so much that you wouldn't appreciate it if you don't usually like fantasy, other than the fact that there's a vampire. But, you know...
Yeah, well...
To quote the trope, he doesn't sparkle.
But conceptually, the whole writing about Anjasa as our own unique works outside of, like, fan fiction, it started as... the idea was, remember, was between dungeons. It was like, this was a Dungeons & Dragons sort of, like, story, but, like, it was following what happens between, you know, when the adventurers are not out, you know, delving into dungeons and on their adventure. So that was conceptually how the story started. Like, here's this, you know, experienced elven rogue, and her getting into, you know, mischief in bars and whatnot, you know, sleeping around and that sort of thing. And so that's how it started.
So we did, like, 3 shorts, I think. It's called the Anjasa Between Dungeons series.
So this one is still the same basic concept, where this is her kind of in her retirement phase. Being an elf, of course, her life is exceptionally long, and she doesn't really age like humans do.
So she's, like, bored.
Yeah.
She's thrill-seeking because, you know, I imagine if I was, like, you know, in the prime of my life forever, I'd probably be looking for some thrills.
Yeah. So it's not the kind of, like, it's not a Dungeons and Dragons off to go, you know, into this dungeon off, like, you know, fighting this big bad out in this castle kind of thing. It's set in this sort of, like, pseudo-medieval city involving the whole, like, criminal underbelly of things. That's the focus.
So we're, I don't know what. Josh says it's going to be the longest one, so the first couple were fairly good-sized novels, but this one's going to be longer still. Yeah,
something longer to close off this, because it was a 3-story arc I had in mind. Now, at the end of this, it's not going to be into the character.
No, because we love the character so much.
Yeah, but, so it's not like everything's going to be completely done with her, but, you know, it's going to be the end of the story arc.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going very well, and I can't wait to get it out to you. If you haven't read the other 2, by all means, go pick it up, or you can even ask us for a review copy.
Yes.
We'll give you one.
We love giving away copies when people are going to give a thoughtful review. We're cool with, you know, basically any review is really nice when it's very thoughtful and introspective. We love reading what people think about the characters and what they think about the plot. Good or bad, it's always interesting to see how
our intentions came across.
Yeah, what people's take on it is. So, and what we're also working on while we write is we are getting ready to release Theodora's Descent.
Yes, it's a big-ass novel.
It is huge. It is going to, like, the paper book novel, or the paper book copy, it has to be, like, $15 just to make up for the size of it, because it's, like, sizable.
Yeah. It's big. Is it as long as our previous longest novel?
It's the longest.
It's longest, yeah.
Yeah.
That does not surprise me.
So it's over 500 pages.
Yeah. It's a horror novel.
A very cool horror novel.
Yeah. It's for those of you listening to this, of course, because you like our erotica or our romance, don't be completely dissuaded. There is some romantic elements.
It's a romantic subplot, I guess, but it's a very slow burn.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't spoil anything.
And it's dark. But it is primarily a horror novel.
But if any of you have read Lovecraft or other like psychological horrors where it's more about people's reaction to things that they don't entirely understand. It's not like a gory slasher or like torture porn or anything like that. It's very much a psychological, mind-bending horror novel.
Although Thea undergoes some very brutal circumstances. Right?
Oh yeah, of course. But, you know, overall, she's probably one of the characters I'm most proud of. She's, you know, a young, bright, fairly wealthy woman who is just not content to be married off and live this...
She's a noblewoman. It takes place in the 19th century England.
She's not content to just live a boring life and raise some kids. She's a scholar and she's curious. And
she's a modern Victorian woman.
She's a modern, yeah. So that's how she ends up finding, you know,
herself caught up in this series of events. But yeah, like Michelle said, it's very much inspired by Lovecraft, and that it's a cosmic horror.
Yes,
Cosmic horror, yeah. Where, for those people like that aspect.
I also called it survival horror, because if you've played, like, survival horror games, it's similar to that.
I can guess, yeah.
Like, kind of Amnesia.
Well, Amnesia is very Lovecraftian.
I kind of felt it was a lot like Tomb Raider in some ways, in that it was a female character who's, like, going through hell. Obviously, different horror aspects rather than, like, you know, the more mundane ones. And Gravity as well. It was just this, you know...
Those are some odd examples you picked.
It is, but...
Amnesia, I could sit for this.
But... It's all, like, the games and the movie and whatnot, it's all about the main character's struggle through these horrific circumstances.
No, I could definitely see what you're saying, like Gravity. Although, you know, obviously very different set of circumstances, of course. But, you know, like you said, that one woman struggle through some very messed up circumstances. Both of them have help from someone else, but, yeah.
But in the end, it just comes down to them and how much they're... Because, I mean, it's not even how much they can physically endure. It's how much... I mean, I don't know how many of you work out, but it's kind of similar to that. It's how much you can mentally and emotionally endure before your body just fails.
Yeah.
You know, you have to keep pushing yourself forward even when your body's telling you, like, fuck off, what are you making me do? This is stupid. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. But it's a very us work. This is a work we wrote thinking, you know what, nobody's ever going to fucking read this thing.
But, much to my surprise, people have actually been coming back, like people we've sent advanced review copies to. Yeah. And they're saying that this is like
we did beta readers for the first time.
Yeah, so they're saying like this is one of our best novels. This is really interesting, a really unique story that was like really well written. We hired a new editor for it who was just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Excellent feedback.
Yeah, we had some great help from our beta readers who came back with a lot of interesting thoughts and ideas. We've fixed some things based on that. So far, I'm incredibly impressed with the feedback we've been getting. So
it surprised me. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because the entire time we were writing that thing, I'm like, nobody's ever gonna fucking read this.
We just got so sick of just trying to chase trends and write what might sell well and what might do well, and we're just like, listen, I need a break from all of this. Let's just write something that we're gonna love, and we did. It was fucking awesome.
We wrote something very eccentric, very different that has no real... It doesn't have its own genre out there to put it in. It's horror, but there is that element of, like, you know...
Yeah, I think I'm putting it in, like, horror and action adventure because it still has kind of those aspects of it being, like, an adventure novel. I'm hoping that people really like the fact that it's a female protagonist going through all these things. Hopefully that brings something new to the genre that's not been done before as often.
I don't know, although apparently, as I learned from a certain someone recently, apparently 19th century horror tended to be written...
No. 18th century horror.
18th century horror, really?
It was primarily written by and for women.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, like, apparently the main theme of what would happen is a very clever and intrepid young woman being haunted in a mansion. So, and her basically trying to overcome this and trying to use her wits to outsmart whatever ghosty thing is haunting her. So, I found that fascinating because we don't talk about how women could read in the 1700s, and we certainly don't talk about how the fact that they were writing and that they were writing popular genres, and that nowadays horror is to be considered like a masculine genre. You know, if you go to a horror movie, it's typically the guy choosing to go to the horror movie. And
but I think regardless of where you stand on things, you'll enjoy it. Whether, you know, if like even if the idea, I think, of a female protagonist in this horror novel to you doesn't sound great, I think it'll surprise you. I think this one's pretty solid.
I hope so, because like seriously, it's so much fun to write. We didn't worry too much about convention. We didn't worry about what would sell well. We didn't worry about any of that. We just wrote something that was very passionate and very, hopefully, magical.
Except not magical. This is cosmic horror. We just don't understand it. It's science. She's dancing.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so that's about to come out. And right now...
August 29th, it's available for pre-order on Barnes & Noble, All Romance eBooks, and Smashwords. And it will be available on Amazon on August 29th.
Yeah. You'll be able to buy it pretty much anywhere, too, once it comes out.
Right now I'm just waiting on Kobo and iTunes and... and I think it should also be available on Drive-Thru Fiction for anyone who has an account there. It's a great website dedicated to sci-fi, fantasy, horror novels, and they have all types of romance and erotica as well that's in those genres. So if you're a geek like me, this is like the best thing I've ever found. So I'm really excited to be published on that site. Drive-Thru Fiction.
Yeah. And also in the meantime, we have a contest going on Goodreads to win a signed paperback copy.
Which is going to cost like $15 to mail to you, so...
Well, depending. Sometimes one person won a contest in the Ukraine, and that was a real fucker.
Oh, I think the furthest one was South Africa.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Which is, I think, ZA. I don't know.
Okay.
Country code?
South Africa.
I
like it. And, we have another contest, I think, coming up for that soon, too, as well.
Yeah, we'll be doing a Rafflecopter, which is what we usually do, and we'll probably be giving away. We have a book release blitz coming out, so we'll probably be doing a Rafflecopter for some Amazon gift cards and a paperback copy as well.
Yeah. Amazon gift cards are great.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
I buy everything on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even get most of the stuff shipped here, but, like, I just get it shipped to a friend and then they mail it to me or they bring it up when they come up next time.
It pays to know a lot of Americans who travel back and forth, apparently.
Exactly. So, the book's only going to be $1 for the first couple of weeks, and then it'll be going up to $4.99, so you definitely want to buy it on release.
Yeah, we always tend to do that because, it's our dedicated fans who go out and buy our stuff, right away usually.
Yeah, we
believe, the people who are fans should get the best deal.
Yeah, so if you're on our newsletter or if you watch our website or, you have us on Facebook or Twitter or whatever and we announce that we have a book release, we want you to get it for the best price.
Because there's always something kind of sat ill with me. Like, you know, when something comes out, it's the highest price it's going to be. And from that point on, you know, from that point on, it only gets cheaper as sales come out or, you know, permanent price reductions happen. But it's like, who buys your book at the beginning?
That's a very traditionally published method.
Yeah, and I do it with video games too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, and I remember, like, the idea came to me because I remember, you know, for those of you who played the Stalker series of games, I loved those, and they were so great. And one thing they did with their sequels was that if you had bought the previous titles, you got a discount on their new ones right from the launch. And I thought, you know, it was called their loyalty program. I thought, that's fucking awesome.
He bought, like, all of their games. He didn't even have time to play them. But he's like, well, they're doing something so cool, and I want to support them because, you know, they're rewarding their fans, which is really rare because, like,
most companies exploit their fans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was something I wanted to emulate. So, when we launch our books for the first week or so, we have it at $1. So, yeah, grab it up.
Yeah. So, we'll let you know when it comes out anyways.
Pocket change.
Yeah, that's like less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
That's the traditional way of saying it. But it's also less than most things at a dollar store now.
Yeah. And, you know, every sale we get to, like, even though we don't make much money off dollar sales, we make very little.
We get 33 pennies.
Yeah. It bumps our sales ranking up, which helps us get more sales.
Yeah. And I mean, reviews seriously help us so much.
And any author you like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was really bad about giving reviews before I started writing. I didn't figure anyone wanted to hear what I had to say, but now I realize that, like, you know, it helps the author a lot, but it also helps readers to find what they're looking for. I go and look at the reviews for everything before I buy it to see if it's going to be something I want. I don't have a lot of time to read anymore, so reading the reviews and reading what other people think about it is really important to me to find out if it's going to be any good. So, or, I mean, not even good, but just if it's going to live up to the expectations that I have for it, if it's going to be the type of book that I think it is.
We'll have to solve your issue with not having enough time to read later. Now then, I guess we'll move along to the issue Michelle had sneakily snuck in and read off my list from before.
I don't know. I don't think we have time for that.
Well, we're almost out of time, aren't we? Well, it's not like...
My Swinger story took up like half an hour, and my Warcraft story took up the other half an hour.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was great.
I hope you guys really appreciated that, because he was glaring at me the entire time, and it was almost like he wanted me to stop talking.
Yeah, almost. Not quite.
We'll just have to do another podcast in like 2 weeks and talk about that.
For fuck's sake. You know, it's not like we had to stop at an hour either. You know?
I know, but I really have to go to the bathroom.
We could pause it, couldn't we?